All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a massive shift happening in global energy. And this is a story that's not just about the environment anymore. We're talking about a high stakes game of economics, national power, and security. Okay, let's kick things off with this quote from the International Energy Agency, or IEA, because it just cuts right to the chase. We've officially entered an era where energy isn't just about, keeping the lights on. It's about the fundamental balance of global power and, well, security. So, yeah, the 20th century energy game, the one dominated by a handful of fossil fuels, it's over. Done. So if we want to understand what's coming next, we have to figure out the new rules, the new playbook that countries are writing to compete, and of course, to win. So what does this new playbook actually look like? Well, it all starts with policy. Government policies really are the engine that's driving this massive energy transition. And if you look around the world, from Europe to the Americas, all the way to Asia, you start to see this same pattern taking shape. Governments are basically pulling three key levers to really speed up the switch to renewables. All right, lever number one is pure economics. It's simple. Make clean energy the cheaper option. You see, through all these financial incentives, governments aren't just lowering the cost for projects. They're sending a super clear signal to investors that says, hey, green energy is a safe and profitable bet. And what's really fascinating here is just how many different tools are being used. In the US, tax credits have sparked this massive solar boom. Then you've got pioneers like Germany, which used something called feed-in tariffs that basically guarantees a fixed, profitable price for anyone generating renewable power. Think about it. That creates incredible stability for investors. And of course, the UK and India are using their own versions of these really powerful incentives to push their own transitions forward. Okay, but making it cheap, that's not quite enough. You also need a really clear destination. And that's exactly why governments are setting these huge, ambitious national targets. This creates certainty in the market, and it sends a message that you just can't mistake. This is where we're all headed. There's no turning back now. And this slide, wow, it really gives you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about. Look at these numbers. These are not small tweaks, right? The EU is aiming for nearly half of all its energy from renewables. Spain is pushing for almost 3/4 of its electricity. And the goals for China and India? We're talking about massive infrastructure projects that are fundamentally reshaping their entire economies. Okay, so the final lever, this one works from the other direction. Instead of just making clean energy cheaper, it makes the old way of doing business, fossil fuels, more expensive. And it does that by putting a price tag right on carbon pollution. Now, this usually takes one of two main forms. First, you've got a direct carbon tax, like what they're doing in Canada, where you simply pay for what you pollute. Pretty straightforward. Then there's a market-based cap and trade system, like the one in the EU, where companies can actually buy and sell permits to emit. But look, either way, the goal is exactly the same. Make clean energy the smarter financial choice. So let's step back for a second. When you make renewables cheaper, you set these huge clean energy targets, and you make pollution more expensive, well, all three of those levers push the world in one single powerful direction, towards an electric planet. Yeah, the International Energy Agency actually calls this the age of electricity. And the core idea here is really simple. From the car you drive to the way you heat your home, pretty much every part of modern life is plugging into the grid. And this projection, it is absolutely staggering. We're looking at a 40% surge in global electricity demand in just a little over a decade. Now, on one hand, this creates a massive opportunity for clean power. But on the other, it puts immense, and I mean immense, pressure on our existing infrastructure. And look, this surge isn't just coming from us charging more phones and laptops. No way. We're talking about a massive structural shift, and it's being driven by some real game-changing technologies. Think electric cars in our driveways, the absolute explosion of data centers powering AI, and the big move towards electrified heating in our homes. But, and this is a big but, this global race to electrify everything introduces a major twist in the story. It seems that in solving one energy security problem, we might just be creating an entirely new one. So you have to ask, right? As we break free from our dependence on fossil fuels, which have been controlled by just a few countries, are we just creating a new vulnerability? A different kind of choke point in the system? And here it is. The answer is yes. The IEA reports that a single country, one country, refines on average 70% of the world's most critical minerals. We're talking about the essential building blocks for batteries, for wind turbines, for the entire green economy. This slide really just captures that paradigm shift perfectly. For a whole century, energy security meant protecting the flow of oil and gas. Today, it's all about securing the supply chains for minerals, for computer chips, for batteries. The most important asset is no longer just what's in the ground, it's the resilience of the grid itself. And, these risks are not theoretical anymore. As the IEA puts it, they've become a hard reality. This transition is literally redrawing the map of energy geopolitics. It's creating brand new dependencies and forging new centers of global power. Okay, so let's pull all of this together. Navigating this new energy future really means understanding a few key takeaways. So here they are, the new rules of the game. First, energy is national security, full stop. The transition is about way more than just climate. It's about economic and strategic advantage. Second, the future is electric. Global policy and technology are all converging on mass electrification. Third, with that comes new dependencies. The race for renewables has become a race for the critical minerals needed to build them. And finally, resilience is paramount. Our modern grids have to be protected from a whole new set of threats, everything from extreme weather to cyber attacks. And all of this leaves us with the critical question for the decade ahead. As the whole world races toward an electric future, can we build resilient and diverse supply chains fast enough to make sure our energy security isn't just different, but actually better? The race is on, and it's not just about getting clean energy, it's about building a secure future. Thanks for watching.